Welcome to our regular council meeting. Today is July 9th, 2019. This is our last council meeting before recess. Welcome to the city of North Miami, and now please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance by Officer Ocean Emmanuel.
Please place your right hand over your chest. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing while we have invocation with Pastor Gervais. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for inviting me to give this invocation. Father, we thank you for the city of North Miami. We thank you for the councilmen and the citizens of this great city. And Lord, Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day of life, another day for family, another day for friends, and another day to bless our foes. And so as we go on tonight, we ask you and for the prosperity of this city. We ask you for the peace of this city. We ask you for the people to be blessed in this city. And we ask you that you will guide the politicians of this city. And as we go on tonight, we ask for your presence. And Lord, as I close, I pray that you would bless us. You would keep us. You would let your face shine upon us and be gracious to us. You would turn your countenance toward us and give us peace. And let us close with the Lord's Prayer. We say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. We want to thank Pastor Eddie Gervais from Community Christian Church. Thank you, Pastor, for the invocation. And now we have some special presentation. Unfortunately, State Representative from District 108, she's running late. I think she will be able to do a presentation at our next council meeting as we move forward. And now we have a special presentation by the Scholarship Awards from the North Miami Educational Foundation Board. We're gonna go downstairs.
Good evening, everyone, and to our mayor and council. My name is Andrea McDonald. I serve as the board liaison for the North Miami Educational Foundation. We are here tonight to present the 2019-2020 Scholarship Award to 17 North Miami students that have met the criteria to receive these funds. For a little history, the North Miami Educational Foundation was formed in 2012 as a result of the city's agreement with Olita Partners, developers for the site formerly known as Biscayne Landing, now known as Solomia. A commitment was made by Olita to give $750,000 over 5 years to assist North Miami residents in their pursuit of educational goals. Therefore, a scholarship program was established in 2013, and beginning in 2014, the foundation has awarded a total of $194,000 in scholarships to 60 students to date. We are excited to be making a difference in the lives of North Miami students who have the potential to succeed. We especially thank Olita Partners and North Miami's mayor and council for creating this awesome opportunity. I'd like to recognize the foundation's board of directors, led by Stephen Mall, president, Gypsy Metellus, Vice President, Clark Reynolds, Treasurer, and now Councilwoman Mary Estime Irvin, who served as Secretary. Also on the board are Patrick Lacuti, President of North Miami Senior High School, Miriam Stewart, Principal of the North Miami Middle School, Sophia Hall, a retired educator, and our own Chief Larry Jariga, and Arthur H. Sorey III, Deputy City Manager. Today we honor the following students. Please come up as I call your name. Some of the students are not here for various reasons. Some are attending summer school, out of town, internships, etc. We have Abraham Arogala. He graduated from North Miami Senior High and attending Florida State University to pursue a degree in political science. Abraham is a second-year student, and he's at summer school for the term. Casey Borchico, a graduate of North Miami Senior High, attending the University of Florida to pursue a degree in political science. Okay, guess she's not here. Rajini Bougie, she's a graduate of Dr. Michael Kropp Sr., and she's attending the University of Central Florida to pursue a biomedical degree. Rajini is a second-year recipient. I know she's not here tonight. Kimberly Dacius, a graduate of William H. Turner Technical Art School. She's attending the University of Miami to pursue a degree in nursing. We have Joshua Delva. He's a graduate of Monsignor Pace High. He's attending Barry University to pursue a degree in accounting. Joshua is also a product of North Miami's Youth Opportunity Program. This is his second year. Ronelda Eliason, a graduate of William H. Turner Technical Art School, attending Florida International University. She's pursuing a degree in political science. Ashley Gill, she's not here tonight, but she graduated from Alonzo and Tracy Morning Senior High. She's attending the University of Florida to pursue marketing degree with also a degree in business. Ashley is a third-year recipient. Bianca Gray, is she here? A graduate of William H. Turner Technical Art School. She's also pursuing a degree in political science, and she's attending St. Thomas University. Ian Laris Chasson, he's a graduate of Doctors Charter School of Miami Shores, attending Florida International University, and he's pursuing a degree in business administration. Mark Kinley Loquette, graduate of North Miami Senior High School, attending Miami-Dade College to pursue a degree in sports management. Reginald Lucian, a graduate of Monsignor Edward Pace High School, attending Florida International University to pursue a degree in biological sciences. Rebecca Mars, she's graduating from Miami Central Senior High, attending Miami-Dade also to pursue a degree in nursing. Crystal Michelle, a graduate of the Master Academy at Key Biscayne. She's attending Florida International University to pursue a degree in nursing also. Crystal wants to become a midwife or nurse practitioner specialized in labor and delivery. Crystal is a third-year recipient. Victoria Paul, a graduate of North Miami Senior High, attending Florida State University to pursue a degree in political science. Well, this political science, good. It's right on time. Darrell Piles, Jr., a graduate of North Miami Senior High School, attending Barry University. He's also pursuing a degree in biomedical science. These heavyweights. And Dieudonne St. George, a graduate of Miami Northwestern Senior High. She's attending Emory University in Atlanta, and she's pursuing a degree, let me say this right, neuroscience and behavioral biology. She's our third-year recipient. And last but not least is Shama Torshin. She's a graduate of Central High, attending Barry University to pursue a degree in nursing. And Shama is also a fourth-year recipient of this scholarship award. Each student has been awarded $3,000, and they are eligible to apply for additional funding each year of their undergraduate studies, up to 4 years if they meet the scholarship's requirement. Please give a hand for these amazing individuals.
The second presentation will be done by Park and Rec Department. Derek Cooker. It's Park and Rec Month.
I just resigned to tonight being a big old
It's National Parks and Recreation Month, and we want to address this proclamation to Derek Cooker. You're the director for Park and Rec on behalf of the city of North Miami. Congratulations. You want to say a few words?
Good evening, all. July is Parks and Recreation Month, so we want you to celebrate your parks systems throughout the country, and especially here in North Miami. We have beautiful park facilities. If you haven't had a chance to see one of our 23 amazing facilities, I encourage you to get out and play. And it's Game On is the theme for this year, 2019. So it is Game On. We have a lot of activities this Saturday from 12 to 4. We will be at Sasso Pool. You can come to Sasso Pool for $1. Enjoy the pool. There's also free hot dogs and water along with chips. So you get that for $1 this Saturday, 12 to 4. Please come out. We'd love to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Derek. That's conclude our presentation, but I see two reps from the state legislature. We have Mr. Joe Geller. Thank you for coming. You want to say a few words or a special presentation? Come forward. No, whoever is here, yes, yes. You want to? Barbara Watson from District 107. Right.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Tonight we were planning to do an update on what has transpired in Tallahassee, and if I can get my colleague to join me, we're going to talk about some of the things that have occurred in Tallahassee. We're expecting the arrival of Representative Dottie Joseph in a very short period of time. But I'd like to start off with a few things that we have experienced in Tallahassee. I'd like to start off with transportation. Transportation is a unique kind of department for the state of Florida. Very few people in this state do not interact with some form of transportation, whether it be by bus, train, car, bicycles, motorcycles. Any of those kinds of transportation needs throughout the state of Florida are addressed in the issues that we handle in Tallahassee. But one of the most important things I'd like to talk about is HB 385. And after a number of complaints from the Miami-Dade Express authorities on DMX, is what most of us refer to it, this bill was presented by Representative Oliva, and which had a limited surtax for the chartered counties and region transportation system, as well as an appeal of the Dade County Express Authority. This bill is extremely important to us because it removes the existing authority in which we have currently in this county. It removes that commission so that they will no longer have the authority. With the bill that was presented by Representative Oliva, it created the Greater Miami Express Agency, better known now as the GMX. Number of complaints were coming into the state as it relates to the tolls, condition of the roads, and how we utilize those funds that were collected. It was believed by the legislators that we should in turn remove the existing committee and reduce the rates, and also making certain that if there is any opportunity or request or need to increase tolls, it would have to go through a lengthy process to make sure that it happens. This bill was signed on July the 3rd and went into effect on July 1st. That is not a mistake on my part. It was put in effect on July 1st, but was not signed until July 3rd by the governor. One of the other things that I thought was very important and I felt we should address here today has to do with actually it's BS 7068. This bill created an express kind of road system that will come from Naples and go to the state of Georgia. This was considered to be an evacuation route that would alleviate traffic in the event of some kind of catastrophe or state emergency. But I beg to differ with this particular bill because I think it makes no sense. It starts in Naples, it drops off on I-4, which is one of the busiest roadways in the state of Florida, which I believe will create a huge congestion for people who are evacuating. You either would have to go east on I-4 to pick up the turnpike, or you would go west to pick up 75. Then you would travel again northbound until you get to another juncture where the road does not meet. So there's several gaps in this particular road system. The concern that I have is that there is an automatic increasement or pay into the actual performance of this road of $130 million annually for a road which is not complete, which does not actually alleviate congestion by dumping you off on another congested road. It inhibits the ability for people to successfully evacuate the state of Florida. By implementing this bill, it will also require the 1230 rule. The 1230 means that you would have to have a 12-year bond on it. At that 12-year juncture, you would have to pay at least 50% of the cost of the road construction off, and in 30 years, it would have to end that process. But there has been no studies to which will say that this road is self-sustaining. But each year we're obligated to putting $130 million into a fund which will support this system, which we do not know is needed and will also create further congestion. This is one bill that I think that we all need to watch very closely. When that road construction start, I don't know, I'm looking at the audience here and there's not many gray hairs in here, so many of you may not remember that years ago we were told that the turnpike will be paid off, the Florida Turnpike will be paid off in 30 years. We are still paying tolls on that road to this day. That road was constructed in the 50s. So is it ever ending? I think that we should be very concerned about a bill such as this. The next bill I'd like to discuss with you this evening has to do with texting and driving. This is a much needed bill in our state. Distracted driving has caused too many lives, too many accidents, and that we should make certain that we keep people's eyes and their actual ability to be concerned with the traffic flow, how things are moving within the community, and if we can legislate something that will help our students, our children, our adults to drive more safely and not be distracted while they're driving, I think we will be better off. But this bill also presents another problem. Many times we find that with some of our law enforcement agencies, not the ones here, but many of our law enforcement agencies utilize this as an opportunity to pull our children over and then start to investigate other things. So we have to make sure that we put a mechanism in place to make sure we monitor that we're not abusing it. We want to make sure that this bill does exactly what it's supposed to do, is to stop texting and driving and increase safety on our roads in the state of Florida. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Groveland floor. Many of you may not be familiar with this. These were 4 African American men back in 1949 who actually were arrested, one of which was shot and killed by the police department. And as they went into the custody of the police department, the three survivors, in the transporting from the jail to another location, 3 of those men were shot. After further review and years had passed, it was found that these young men were not guilty of the crime in which they were being incarcerated for, and it was from the county of Lake County, and their sheriff department apologized to the families of those deceased people and the families of the deceased and those men that were in prison for years for a crime which they did not commit. It was our Governor Scott that said that he would authorize a pardon to those men after they had fully served a term, their terms in jail. But it was what our current governor, Ron DeSantis, that actually gave the pardon. And I would like to make sure that we all recognize that he understood the injustice that had occurred to these 4 men. So this is a very important bill for us. And I'd like to talk a little bit about tonight about the bill in which I passed in Tallahassee. The bill which I passed I thought was very important for us as a state. As you know, we are in hurricane season. The bill itself was to grandfather in electricians who had actually been with local licenses in their communities or either in their counties. If they had had their licenses for 5 years, they would be able to apply, pay the fees that were associated with a state license so that they would be able to operate all over the state. The reason I felt this bill was imperative that we pass, if any of you are familiar with what has occurred in the Panhandle and the catastrophe that has occurred there, we had the opportunity to visit the Panhandle and the damage and the problems that exist there are just unthinkable. So we need to have people in place that are going to be prepared and ready when we start having construction. Electricians are needed in almost every structure in which that are assembled or replaced. We have to have lights in barns. We have to have in my churches, in our schools, our businesses, and all throughout our city, electricians are needed. It is going to be my effort in 2019, or rather 2020, to present a contractor's bill because we must prepare. If we were to have another catastrophe of any scale near what has happened in the Panhandle, we would not have enough people with the skill sets to be able to come and restore our community. In closing, I'd like to say to you and talk about the resolutions in which I've passed in Tallahassee. One of which was called Storytelling Week. This is very important. It engages our children and have them the ability to be reading out loud, going into various parts, our libraries, and in our classroom to have the opportunity to hear stories either of their heritage or just plain adventures. So we designated a week for storytelling, and that week will be November 6th through the 23rd of 2019. The next bill and resolution that I passed, and I've had the honor and the pleasure of passing for the last 4 years. It is the month of May 2019. It is Haitian Heritage Month. It has been a real pleasure to be able to engage people to look at their history, experience their history, and be able to let others be able to understand the cultures of all our diverse community. So remember, May of 2019 was Haitian Heritage Month. We will experience the same thing in 2020. Lastly, and in closing, I presented a resolution that approaches and addresses Violence Prevention and Awareness Month. We all know the violence that are plaguing our communities, the gun violence, domestic violence. We must make sure that we take an opportunity to look at solutions. Each community with this particular bill will be able to address those things that are most affecting their communities. If we are looking at a tremendous amount of gun violence or breaking in entry or whatever the situation in our community, we can have an opportunity to make sure that we start addressing that, looking at opportunities, creating commissions or committees that will look at those kind of spikes in crime so that we will be able to try and see a turn in those kind of events in our community. And I want to thank our colleague, Ms. Dottie Joseph, who's joined us now. Representative Joseph has asked us to join her today in doing this presentation to you, and I'd like to ask her to come up and address the community.
Good evening, North Miami. Oh, y'all sound tired. Let's try that again. Good evening, North Miami. All right, that's a little bit better. All right, I'll let you slide this time. So for those who don't know me, my name is Dottie Joseph, and I proudly represent Florida House District 108. As you can see, we share the city of North Miami, so I thought it was important to have all of our colleagues here to give you an update so you know what's going on in Tallahassee, because I know sometimes we didn't always know. That being said, let me just jump right into it. I'll tell you some of the things that we got taken care of, some things we fought against, some victories we had, and some things that were not so good, okay? Starting with HB 563, basically this is a bill that allows victims of domestic violence to qualify for unemployment compensation if they have to leave their job because of a domestic violence incident. It's a very important measure that we have been fighting for some time, and we are finally able to get that accomplished. The second bill that I personally got passed was HB 617, which is a homeowner's insurance policy disclosure. Basically, people were getting confused. They would get a notice saying that they needed flood insurance, but they already had flood insurance, so they thought they needed more flood insurance, and it was a big mess. So the insurance companies actually had the people's interest in mind, and they reached out to a couple of us to see what we could do to fix it, because the language was statutorily required. So we fixed the statutory language so people don't get confused. Lastly, we have SB 1306, which is a bill that I don't know if Senator Pizzo mentioned it while he was here, but we jointly sponsor that bill. And what it does is it commemorates the 100-year anniversary of women's right to vote, the passage of the 19th Amendment. And so I'm going to jump into some of the stuff that did not pass that I sponsored. So we have a resolution to have Florida be the last and final state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. The Equal Rights Amendment would just basically declare that men and women are equal. And some people don't understand the importance of it, but it's not just about women. It actually is an issue that impacts men as well. I don't know how many people are familiar with the Supreme Court case that basically there was a gentleman who served in the military abroad in Asia, and it's the Nugent case. And then when he came home with his son, raised his son as a single parent all the way through, and the son got in trouble. But because the son did not get the same citizenship, even though he was born to a U.S. father, had he been born to a U.S. mother, he would have gotten his citizenship. However, if we had the Equal Rights Amendment passed, that would not have happened. There are a whole host of issues why that ERA is important. Equal pay for women. It's been a big thing with the women's soccer championship. Let's give them a round of applause. Yes. But equal pay is something that's important. It's something that we would think is a no-brainer, but it's not. It did not get a hearing this time. We're going to continue to fight for it, not just for the women's soccer, but for women everywhere. There's no reason why we shouldn't get paid the same for equal work. Paid family leave. The United States is the only country in the developed world that does not have some form of paid family leave. We're working on changing that. There were some things in terms of criminal justice reform, automatic sealing of certain records, especially when they were unjustified. We also have a bill in light of the sanctuary cities policy. So I'm going to just jump into that one right now. That was one that passed, is SB 168, which compels local governments and state agencies to basically cooperate with ICE. They have to hold on to detainers. So beyond what you're constitutionally allowed to be held, now they get to hold you up for 48 hours. Those costs are now borne by the local governments, which get passed on to us, law-abiding, non-tax evading citizens. We fought against it, but it still passed because that was the priority right now. Politics are politics. That being said, there was a bill that we did to try to mitigate some of that, which is one that would allow immigrants to qualify to get driver's license, which used to be the case in Florida until they changed it to only require U.S. citizen forms of ID. So whether it's a passport or your green card. So now it's a safety issue. We live in South Florida. We know who's driving on the roads. We would like them to know the rules of the road. It would be helpful. In New York, they passed it. We're going to try again. Background checks. So I know that Representative Watson may have talked a little bit about that, but we proposed a law that would require universal background checks. Even over 90% of gun owners support that measure. It was not adopted this time. We proposed something to protect the Sadowski Fund. That was not accepted this time. Representative Geller and I proposed a law to repeal the death penalty. That didn't go anywhere this time. And lastly, the maternal mortality prevention task force. So we're going to continue working on that. Now, let's talk about some good things that did pass. We had the infectious disease elimination program, which basically the needle exchange program, which was started right here at the University of Miami as a pilot program, which was now let out for the entire state. Dignity for incarcerated women. Now, you know, men can't be in the same places where women are undressing. You would think that that was there anyway. Make sure that they get access to feminine products, things that you thought was there. It wasn't there, so we made sure that it got there. Texting while driving. Did you cover that? Okay, good, done. In terms of criminal justice reform, there were a couple of things that happened. So we talked a little bit about the occupational licensing, but we also raised the felony theft threshold to from $300 to $750. So less people will be caught up as a felony for that particular measure. It also eliminated the mandatory direct file, which is a big victory for those of us in the criminal justice reform community. We took away the ban on smokable marijuana. That was just a little loophole that the legislature did last time, but fortunately with some pressure from the governor, that got corrected. Now, let's talk about some of the heavier stuff that happened. Voting rights restoration reform. So SB 7066. So there were some good parts of it. So let me mention the good parts first. It extended the cure period for a voter to correct the signature deficiencies to the second day after the election. It also requires the Department of State to provide formal signature matching training to supervisors. We know what a big fiasco that was last time when they were trying to match the signatures, and those of us who have served on canvassing boards know how that works. And it also allows voters to now drop off his or her vote-by-mail ballot at a secure drop box located at the early voting location, as opposed to having to go all the way at the supervisor of elections spot. So that's the good stuff. Neutral stuff, no solicitation zone has moved from 100 feet to 150 feet. Now here's the not so good stuff. Amendment 4. As you know, Florida voters overwhelmingly voted in favor of restoring the rights of felons to vote after they've paid their time. Unfortunately, this legislature, the majority of this legislature decided that they wanted to add some strings that were not previously attached. And they require that all of the financial obligations be addressed. Now, Senator Pizzo and I are working on trying to see what we can do about making sure that's not having the, trying to make the best out of a bad situation. I'll put it that way. So it also allows the supervisor of elections to designate certain public spaces like libraries, schools, et cetera, as polling sites, but it added this additional requirement of having a certain amount of non-reserved parking spaces. So by some advocates, that's seen as a restriction to basically not allow for voting at college campuses. You talked about the Groveland 4? Yes, done. Veto ban, so in terms of, you're gonna talk about the environment, good. See, you know when you split stuff up so you don't have to spend a whole lot of time talking about stuff. Dignity for incarcerated women, criminal justice reform. I think I'm pretty much done. You're going to talk about teachers, constitutional amendments. So now I'm going to turn on over to the awesome and amazing Representative Joseph Geller.
Am I blessed? So nice to see everybody, and let me just say, you know, everything you heard is right, and everything you heard is true, but I took a little darker view of this session. I just think a lot of stuff went wrong, and the things that went right just weren't enough. There just weren't enough. So let me go through some of these particular things here. First, I'm happy to see that some money got sent to the North Miami Senior Citizens Foundation, and your delegation worked hard to make sure that happened. That's a very deserving cause. So, never enough, but not too bad. You know, speaking of that delegation, I know Senator Pizzo was here, Mayor and Council, that Senator Pizzo was here speaking to you previously. We work very well together. The three of us represent the city in the House. He represents the city in the State Senate. And we have a really very good, very harmonious working relationship. And I'm really pleased to have us have that unity. And we represent a lot of diversity, and so does this city. That's one of the hallmarks of North Miami. By the way, I would be remiss in my comments if I didn't take the opportunity to congratulate our new mayor on being the new mayor,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
and our re-elected councilman who's stepped off the dais, but please tell him when he gets back, and our brand new member of the council, Mary Estima Irvin. Congratulations to you.
And our other re-elected councilman, Galvin.
Were you, did you even?
I'm just a piece of the furniture at this stage. It's okay.
I know, I heard the vicious rumor. Of course, our new clerk as well. Congratulations to the clerk. They kept telling me that you had an opponent, and I kept saying that. It's not even right. Carol's is just continuing. She didn't have to run. She's untouchable. So, but I do want to say that some bad things happened in Tallahassee, and it's a mark of the fact that the leadership doesn't see things the way we do. I don't point fingers, and I don't call names, and I don't, you know, that's not productive. Our disagreement is a disagreement of ideas. One of the big differences between Washington and Tallahassee is, at least in Tallahassee, people talk to each other decently and civilly. I can't hardly remember the number of times that a member, even of the other party that's in control, was disrespectful or downright rude. But I disagree with their ideas, and I know that goes for my colleagues as well. And some of the things they do just don't make sense. And let's start with saying that teachers should have guns in the classroom. What a terrible idea that is. All right? I mean, just the wrong approach to say that we're going to arm teachers. I have a child that's of school age. My daughter's, hard to believe, old guy like me, but my daughter's 12. And she's in the public schools here. And of course I'm worried about her safety. But I want the only guns on those campuses to be in the hands of trained, sworn law enforcement officers. They're not perfect. I know our chief would be the first to tell you they're not perfect. He's looking after getting them as close as possible. But the fact of the matter is, if there's going to be a gun at that school, I want it to be in the hands of a trained law enforcement officer. I don't think they're supermen or women. I don't think that they're infallible, but by God, they do a great job for us. They do their level best, just about every single one of them. They put their lives at risk as our other first responders, the firefighters, do. And if there's going to be a gun at that school, that's who I want carrying it, not somebody who thinks they know what to do with it. The potential for tragedy is tremendous. Just last year, we actually passed that Marjorie Stoneman Douglas safety bill that did a lot of good things, that had a lot of protections like risk protection orders that my colleague Lori Berman pushed so hard for, and banning bump stocks, and putting waiting periods in for long guns like rifles, and a host of things. And then they come back this year and they make this, they take the one bad part of the bill and they make it even worse. Just misguided. And while we're talking about education, The idea that they passed something so that millions of dollars are going to go to private schools instead of public schools. Look, if you want to send your kid to private school, God bless you. But we need to fully fund public education, and we haven't done that in this state, at least in a very long time, if ever. And to take that money and put it into private schools and leave all the other kids behind, all the ones that are still in our public schools that now are going to be short money, that's wrong. It's the wrong approach, and I'm disappointed we've seen that happen. You know, some things were done on the environment. They did put some money into the Florida Forever program, not enough, but something. And I give some credit to this governor for saying he's going to be an environmental governor and for making that a priority. You give credit where credit is due. You never look at whose idea it is. You have to judge the idea based on its own merit. As much as I disagreed with the governor about his private school voucher plan, I did agree with him on some of the steps he took on the environment. And again, you give credit where credit is due and you criticize when you need to. My colleague mentioned this so-called sanctuary city bill. We don't even have sanctuary cities in this state. The biggest problem with it is not that it imposes costs on us that should be borne by the whole country. That's a problem. But it's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is it's mean-spirited. It's awful. It attacks people. It makes people uncomfortable. It's not what this country is about. You know, the Statue of Liberty has some words on it, and it doesn't say, give us your fine people. You know, we have somebody up in Washington, I won't name, who thinks they were fine people marching with the neo-Nazis and Klansmen. I don't agree with that. But that Statue of Liberty says on it, give us your huddled masses. Give us the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. It doesn't say you have to be smart. It doesn't say you have to have an education. It doesn't say you have to be lucky in the circumstances of your birth. It recognizes that all people have value. Every single one. And some of the children and the grandchildren of those people who came like that have turned into some of the greatest Americans that we have, because in this country you get a chance. And the way they turn their back on what this country stands for, I said that in a discussion on that bill. I said, let's show some compassion. Let's show some kindness. Let's be America. And that's what America is about. So I was just crushed that they could so easily disregard people's rights. We're seeing it every day now down at our border. People that are dehumanized. You know, we passed a bill this year to strengthen protections against all kinds of discrimination, including anti-Semitism. I was happy to see that, one of the few bright spots. But as somebody who's seen what anti-Semitism does, who's seen what that Holocaust is, when you start to dehumanize people, that's what leads to something like the Holocaust. And that's what's happening every day in this country, and we all ought to be mad about it and not stand for it and not just stand by and shake our heads. There was
Thank you.
There were the continued attack on home rule. You know, your city council works hard to try and do what the residents want. And that's true for every local government I've ever seen. Sometimes they make mistakes. Not this one, of course. Sometimes some local governments do make mistakes. But the fact of the matter is they try. And somehow our colleagues think that when they walk into that state capitol building, they get smarter. And I've reminded them that's not true. They are no smarter by virtue of serving in Tallahassee than all the people who take their time and work so hard in local government, and the very same constituents elect them both, and they are equally wise when they elect these city council and local government officials and county commissioners as they are when they elect state legislators. And they try everything to stop local governments. This year, something interesting happened. They passed a bill to prevent cities from banning plastic straws to try to help our environment. The governor actually vetoed it. Republican governor, what a surprise. And he said, if people don't like the job local government officials do, they can vote him out. Well, that's right. So he's doing some stuff right. I gotta say, stuff I don't like, but some I do. One that happened that I thought was the right thing, I have to say I don't much disagree with League of Cities, but they were worried about costs and what they call unfunded mandates, and I get it. But we passed a bill finally this year, after years, that said that if firefighters get cancer, we're going to recognize that that happens as part of their job and what they have to go through and the stuff they breathe in trying to save our lives. And now they're going to be able to get coverage. And I know it's a little bit of a financial burden, but those people defend us. They defend us every day. They and our law enforcement officers, and we need to be there and help them out. So just in conclusion, a couple of last little things. One, again, that my colleague, Rep. Joseph, mentioned. I can't tell you how dismaying it's been to know our whole criminal justice system is a mess, and these private prisons are the worst of it. They should make those illegal. Their interests and our interests are not the same. They have different interests than we do as a society. But the plight of women in our jails and prisons has been disgraceful. That we had to pass a bill to say that women had the right to feminine hygiene products, like it's some privilege. That's shocking that that's been allowed to continue. But at least it happened, the Incarcerated Women's Act. What a step forward. What a great step. And the needle exchange, you know, there's so many things we could talk about that happen up there. I'm not going to take more of your time, but I will tell you it's a struggle. They are misguided. They may be well-intended, but they're misguided. What happened with Amendment 4 is a good example. There's just so many things that don't take into account the problems that we face, particularly in urban parts of Florida. And that's why we go up there. You know, the three of us in the House delegation and our senator are Democrats. We're in the minority in Tallahassee, and we don't win a lot, but I'll tell you this, when we're there, when Rep. Watson speaks out, when Rep. Joseph speaks out, when Senator Pizzo speaks out, and I'll give myself the same credit, they can't do what they do in silence. They can't get away with it. They don't have the right to just pass it through like nobody cares. At least we're there to call them out and tell them what's wrong and tell them what ought to be. And we're going to keep doing it as long as you want us to be there, and we're going to try and set them on the right road. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much.
That pretty much concludes it. I just forgot one thing in terms of the budget. We filed 5 different ones. Of those, of all of my cities in the district, North Miami's the only one that got funded with $150,000. The appropriations for the North Miami Arch Creek, the rest of them got vetoed, Lord knows why. But you got some money home. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, District 100, District 107, and District 108. Thank you very much for a job well done in Tallahassee. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us, Mayor.
Thank you.
Can I, Mr. Mayor, just one thing I have. Mr. Rep and Madam Reps, please, one of the items that's very dear to my heart, and I know he vetoed it, but the argument should be I know where their Jeanette Nunez is from. They get funded for the senior program. So, oh, praise God! Okay, that's not good. But at least it's even now. But that's a fight, Mr. Geller. That they, if they do get it, we at least should advocate for that one because all senior matters. Thank you.
Thank Thank,
Oh,
thank,
oh, there
thank
you go.
very-
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
thank you very much. And also, you know, we have another representative from the city at the county level. We have Commissioner from District 2, Commissioner Jean-Moniz team. Do you wanna say something?
For those of you hoping to catch the replay of the women's soccer game at 9 p.m.,
Good.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
City Council members, thank you for the opportunity. I wasn't here to speak, Mr. Mayor. I just came to listen to our state representatives reporting on their work in Tallahassee. But Councilman Galvin just stole my thunder and reporting on the women's soccer team winning. And the guys, I'm sorry, we can't do it anymore. So we didn't win. But I'll take the opportunity to invite members of the City Council, the audience, and those watching on television that my district, my office is going to have a wonderful event. Outside the border of the city, of course. It's going to be a mango festival on the 20th of July at Oak Grove. So you all invited. So it's mango season. So, and this is going to be the first, you know, in North Dade. I really would like to see as many people as possible enjoying that festival. So you all invited. Thank you for the opportunity. I believe I've had the opportunity to congratulate all of you on your re-election. Of course, Mr. Fixture on the dais, so yes, we did, right? Kind of, right? So again, congratulations. I'm here at your service. If there's any requests, please let us know. Very soon we'll be starting our budget sessions at the county. So if there's anything that we need to do, Mr. Mayor, I'm glad that your money is on its way for CAGNY.
Thank you very much.
I was told that
Commissioner.
it was a little delayed because of the election, because you know we couldn't get in contact with county hall and city. We understand what was happening. So hopefully there is more we can do together. And have a wonderful evening, and thank you for your service.
Can I
again.
ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Moniz team. As a city, if we want to put an item on the agenda, like we want to get money from the county in the budget, what do we do?
Well, it's best to call me or ask me. It's also good if the city council pass a resolution. There is a constant fight in the county to ask for money for MOCA. This preceded me,
That's-
but we continue asking for more money for MOCA. But if we can have your support advocating for that, not just before me, but also other members that represent our city, and also requesting a meeting with the mayor and his staff, I think that can always help.
Another question: did they stop annexations? No.
Well, I would say
Just
that.
say-
Yeah, I would say that the county government doesn't have an appetite for annexation, but you shouldn't stop trying if this is what you really believe in.
Okay.
And it's a game of coalition building. So
Okay,
when
I thought they stopped from doing any.
there's no
annexation at
moratorium
all.
on
Okay, there's no- okay.
it's I think a number of applications have been delayed depending on the district
Okay.
that they're in, but also well, you have very capable people here who should continue to advocate, and you yourself and your members should reach out to other elected officials, because it's best that you connect with your elected officials and staff connect with staff. And I think if we go these two routes, we'll be able to accomplish things on behalf of the city.
Thank you very much.
I have a quick
Commissioner. Yes.
question, Mr.
Go
Mayor. Mr. Commissioner, how are you?
I'm wonderful, sir.
Please,
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Yes. Please do what you can, just like the city of West Miami, because they invited me, and I went by and see their senior program. they got money from the county. See what you can, if we could get something from our senior program with almost 150 with a waiting list. We don't have enough funding to get more people in the program. If you could do something for us.
You would have to do a whole lot more lobbying for this
Okay.
one, because I think it's about 2 or 3 years ago, the board approved an ordinance or resolution, whatever it was, making CBR allocation competitive. So we used to make an ask for the Miami Foundation, for example, and for all other organizations, but the mayor doesn't, unless it's in its power to do a line item, considering that he's a strong mayor, but that's not the approach at County Hall anymore. So if it's any, again, there is power and strength, and the collectivity. So if we come together and make a request, the mayor may decide that he's going to put it in the budget and ask the board to approve it. But traditionally, the way it's been done, it's no longer done that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any?
Yeah.
No other question? Commissioner, thank you very much.
But don't stop asking. That's what I want to convey to you at the end.
Thank you very
All right.
much. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can you confirm the quorum, please?
Councilman Desilme?
Here.
Councilwoman Estime Irvin?
Here.
Vice Mayor Keys?
Here.
Councilman Galvin?
Here.
Mayor Bieneme?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Mr. Manager, do you have any addition, deletion?
Yes,
to the
I do
agenda?
need to remove tab I from the agenda.
You're removing tab I.
Isn't there any deadline we're missing?
No, we'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Okay. Tab I is being removed. Mr. City Attorney, are we set for tonight with the agenda?
Yes, sir, the agenda is set. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
Unless a member of the City Council wishes to remove a specific item from this portion of the agenda, tabs A through C constitute the consent agenda. These resolutions and items are self-explanatory and are not expected to require additional review or discussion. These items will be recorded as individually numbered resolutions adopted unanimously by the following motion: that consent agenda comprised of tabs A through C be adopted.
Thank you very much. Can I hear a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Do you have any question?
Never mind. Never mind, I'm good.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda made by Vice Mayor Keys, seconded by Councilwoman Estime Irvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The item passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Tab D, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager to issue purchase orders to Bancorp Bank for the lease purchase of 24 vehicles at a cost not to exceed $780,000 over a 5-year term, in accordance with the terms of the existing municipal master lease agreement, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Yes, sir.
All right, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Alberto Estrada, Purchasing Director. The item that you have before you under tab D represents staff's request for your approval of adding an additional 24 vehicles to the agreement between the city and the Bancorp Bank for the lease purchase of 24 vehicles over a 5-year period for a not to exceed amount of $780,000. If you recall, at the last council meeting, the council tabled this item and requested some additional information. So here this evening, before you, Mr. Jeff Geimer, the Vehicle Fleet Director for the City of North Miami, is going to provide some more additional information for your consideration of this item.
Good evening, Jeff Geimer, Capital Project Manager, City of North Miami. Just wanted to briefly explain this evening the vehicles that we're going to be purchasing. We've done some research. We looked at different purchasing options, and the one that's in front of you for the Bancorp bank leasing the vehicles is the best option by far from a cost perspective. It works out to be much cheaper than renting, which a spreadsheet was emailed to each of you earlier today. And we looked at other leasing options, and this is the best one available by far. If you'd like me to go into details as far as a comparison between renting and leasing, I can do that as well.
Just
If
Very-
needed, we, go ahead.
if I could, Mr. Mayor, I did send out a communication to the council and gave you a physical report that shows a significant $94,000 annual savings with this lease option. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is open on tab D. Public hearing is open on tab D. Public hearing is now closed on the dais.
Move approval.
Second. Question.
With the question.
Go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, go ahead. With the question. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Your
I'm,
mic's not.
I'm sorry. That's okay. I'm all right.
I have a motion to approve the item made
Madam,
by,
No questions. I'm
Thank you.
fine. Thank you.
by Vice Mayor Keys, seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Thank you.
The item passes 4-1. Tab E, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the city administration's competitive selection of Top Crafts, Inc. as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder to provide all labor, equipment, materials, services, and expertise required to complete the Arch Creek Drainage Improvements Project in accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in invitation for bid number 54-18-19. Further authorizing the city manager and the city attorney to negotiate and execute an agreement with Top Crafts, Inc. for the provision of services in an amount not to exceed $723,315.12, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Once again, for the record, Alberto Estrade, Purchasing Director. Mr. Mayor, council members, the item that you have before you under tab E represents the results of solicitation number 541819, as well as staff's recommendation for your approval and award of a contract to Top Crafts Incorporated as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for this drainage improvement project. The amount of the contract is a not to exceed amount of $723,315.12 and an anticipated project duration of 120 days from notice to proceed. As reflected in the council report that's submitted before you, my office issued this solicitation in order to request bids from qualified and experienced contractors. This project is intended to improve the drainage in the areas of Arch Creek, which is located south of Northeast 133rd Street, north of Northeast 130th Street, east of Northeast 12th Avenue, and west of Northeast 14th Avenue. In response to this solicitation, the city received 17 proposals. The tabulation of those proposals can be found on the second page of the council report. As a result of this tabulation, Top Crafts has been determined to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. And staff recommends award of the contract to this company. Here with me tonight in support of this item are representatives from the Public Works Department, the Assistant Director of Public Works, as well as the city engineer in charge of the design and execution of this project. Also here are representatives from the recommended contractor, Top Crafts. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Thank you very much. Now public hearing is open on the item, tab E.